So I've got a little yin snack for you today, about half an hour practice that you can do at the end of a dynamic practice or maybe at the end of the day to kind of soothe the legs and the lower back. We're focusing on the legs and the lower back. You'll need a bolster for this practice. If you don't have a bolster, you could use two of these blocks next to each other with a nice blanket on top. You could use three pillows, so you can adapt. We're just going to get a little lift for the back of the pelvis. At the end of the practice, I'll give you the option to do a relaxation with a block between the legs and tied with a belt around the thighs. That's optional, you don't need that. So we're going to lie down in kind of a bridge pose with the pelvis on the bolster. So there's different ways that you can get to this position. It's quite nice to sit on the bolster, sit to the front of the bolster, have the hands behind you and very gently inch your way down until you're lying down with the bolster behind the pelvis. Alternatively, you could lie down with the bottom on the floor like this, lift the bottom up and then bring the bolster under the pelvis. So whatever works for you, and just kind of wriggle around on the bolster. Make sure there's a little bit of bottom kind of hanging off the front of the bolster and the lower back is kind of hanging off the back. So if I had the bolster too high, it would be right in my lower back arch and that would feel like quite intense. We want it behind the back of the pelvis. So have a little wriggle around, feet flat on the floor, some space between the feet. You can place your arms overhead if you want to and just have a nice kind of openness in the chest. And we'll start by just resting in here. So we've got a little bit of an inversion here, kind of a restorative bridge. The options here, if you want to take your feet a little bit wider and let your inner knees fall in towards each other, even if they don't touch, or you could place a block between the knees, just have the inner knees touching. If that's at all strenuous to the knees, just have the feet flat on the floor. And if you couldn't find some comfort for the legs, if they just really felt like they were holding on to keep this position, you could tie the belt around the thighs just so that they could actually lean out into the belt without kind of falling open. So with yin, we're going to hold poses for a minute or two and just really let the body relax into these little shapes. So we're starting very gently, just adding a little bit of very minimal stretch in the upper chest, the pec area. I say minimal, it'll be however it feels for you. If you're very tight, it might be maximal. And we've got this gentle inversion, gentle back bend, because we've lifted the hips up. We're going to start melting into the bolster now, trying to see what tension we can let go of the thighs without losing this position. So just gently seeing what we can let go of, seeing if we can let gravity take the back of the pelvis. You can imagine that your pelvis is lifted and your lower back is just kind of a waterfall dropping down to the floor. You can breathe into this gentle decline from the pelvis towards the shoulder blades. Feeling the shoulder blades and the head heavy. Also feeling the arms heavy, the back of the pelvis heavy, and grounded in the feet. And you might feel that every now and then you feel this little shift, this energetic shift, a little fascial release. Some part of you was holding on without realizing and can now let go without falling out of the pose. There's minimal effort, there is some effort to stay in the shape, but to really let go. It might help if your head is full of thoughts to just have some sighing breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's kind of hard to be still suddenly, so this is why it's quite nice at the end of a dynamic practice or the end of the day to prepare for sleep, when your mind is kind of ready to let go. But you can gradually train your mind and bring it to that stillness. And you'll find the more you practice, the longer you practice, the more often you practice these kind of static poses, the more easily you can drop in. So now, settling in. We'll do a little dynamic lunge. It's not very dynamic, actually. I don't know why I said dynamic. Lifting the left leg up and just hugging the left knee in. So you may be able to take the hands and interlink them over the shin. You might prefer to take the back of the thigh. If you don't want to squeeze your knee that much, you may want to take a belt either side and just hold. Depends on what flexibility you've got, what space you've got, what feels comfortable. And you're just going to hang there and let that knee go wherever it wants. Mine likes to always kind of hang out to the side. Try to just weight the shoulders and just let it go where it wants. So the other foot, the right foot, you have the option of keeping it like this, or you can stretch it out on the mat. And the knee can be bent, and again, let that foot flop out to the side. And then we'll just hold here for a few deep breaths. And so this is like a yin lunge. We're kind of lunging upside down. And we're just going to really use minimal effort. So possibly only the effort is the kind of finger knuckles holding your hand there. So if you can let go of the head, shoulders, feeling the pelvis heavy, feeling the right heel and the left knee heavy in opposite directions. So you may be able to feel a gentle opening in the front of the right hip as the left knee and the right heel kind of drop into the earth. And if it's too much like this, bending the right knee, you're still going to get this opening. You can focus in on the gentle flow of the breath. You can have your awareness on the lower right abdomen. And you can feel as you breathe in, might be a swelling down there, or kind of sensations of stretch or opening. As you breathe out, you might feel the abdomen dropping down in towards the bolster. And you can practice with every exhalation, just allowing yourself to let go a little bit more. Again, every now and then you might feel those little fascial releases. And then take a deep breath. Bringing that right foot back on the floor, gently releasing and sending that left knee carefully back onto the floor and the arms back overhead. I'm just feeling into the sensations now in the left thigh and the right thigh, just noticing where the left thigh has been compressed. You might feel a little bit of hydration there as it pulls in the energy. Where the right hip and thigh have been a little bit more stretched, you might feel different sensations. So just notice from side to side how you feel. And then let's bring the right knee up. And we can interlink the fingers over the shin or behind the knee, or hold with a belt. If you're holding with a belt, really let your elbows go, because there's no need to use any energy that you don't need. So just starting to let that knee weight in with gravity. If it wants to go out to the side a little bit, let it. See if you want to move that left heel out and just turn the left foot out to the side. Really super chilled. Don't worry about what it looks like or the alignment or lining anything up. Just relax your shoulders, relax your head. Maybe even close your eyes now and go inside to the breath, the sensations. Feeling of heaviness.
heaviness in the head and the shoulders, pelvis. The left heel and the right knee dropping down away from each other. Give this spaciousness in the front of the left hip. And a sense of effortlessness. You're holding this entire pose just with a minimalist effort in your fingers or hands. If you're using a belt, see if you can maneuver it so that you're really minimizing the effort in the hands. Letting go. You can practice breathing and feeling into the sensations in the lower left abdomen. Breathing out, allowing the abdomen to drop into the bolster. Stay here, you may feel those little tugs every now and then as another little piece of the puzzle lets go. Developing mindfulness of sensations as they move and change and morph. Breath coming in and out, this transformational tool. You might notice the breath getting slower, you might not, it doesn't matter, just noticing. You don't need to change, it might change on its own, it might not. Often the breath will become slower. And it's something you can play with if you want to challenge it to get slower. And you can also do this with minimal effort, even minimal effort with the breath. Let's now bring that left foot carefully back on the floor, releasing the knuckles of the fingers or the belt, slowly guiding right knee, right foot back to the floor, taking the arms overhead again, maybe having a wriggle, coming back to stillness. If you want to, again, you can take your feet wide and let your inner knees fall in. If that's at all straining on the knees, just have a more parallel stance. If you need to lean against something, then you could have the belt around the upper thighs. Back into this restorative bridge. Just resetting side to side to feel the difference now. Maybe they feel the hips and the thighs, the pelvis maybe feels a little bit more balanced. Or you might be feeling the sensations, the opposite of compression, the right side now, where we had the right knee hugged in and squeezed and compressed. Now you have it kind of sucking its hydration, and where you had the left hip open, maybe you have the after effect of that. Just feel what you feel. And you're going to bring your hands down, and one at a time, just bring the knees up. And take the hands on the knees, and just take the knees out to the sides, nice wide knees. And you've got some options here. You can hold the outsides of the knees and just kind of weight the shoulders and the elbows so that the knees fall in towards you, the elbows fall to the floor. You can see the pelvis tips up a little bit. So you can hold this pose Or you could bring the hands inside the knees and hold the inner ankles or the inner shins. And again, just add a little bit of traction or weight in the shoulders. Or you could take the soles of the feet towards the sky, and you could take hold of the outsides of the feet. So the elbows are on the insides of the knees. I'm going to take hold of the outsides of the feet, and I'll just weight the knees straight down and then take all the effort away. It's happy baby with a bit of pelvis elevated there, but we're going to be really minimal. So even I can relax my fingers here, just let gravity do all the work. If I'm here or here, I'm just going to really let go and let gravity do the work. And if you always do the same pose, why don't you try a different one? See what happens. Thinking not about what the pose looks like, but how much you can let go while staying in the shape. And really aiming for a shape that it would be kind of 60% of your stretch capacity, not going for a really strong stretch and then holding it for a long time, because that really isn't that good for you. But a gentle kind of 60-70% max, held for a long period of time, over a minute, is actually much more beneficial. So again, be the explorer of your sensations as we hold. You might have sensations in the pelvic floor, in the abdomen. You might have sensations in the lungs as they're kind of a little bit compressed into the floor. And maybe sensations in the inner thighs, the hamstrings, the hips, front and back. Wherever you're feeling, just trace the sensations. See how much you can let go whilst just minimally holding yourself in this shape. Tracing the sensations and mindfully watching the breath as it comes in and out. Just gently let go of the knees. Let go of the feet if you're holding the feet. Bring the knees back towards each other. And we'll take a little inversion now. So you might want to wriggle the bolster. See how you do. The options are that you could now send the legs straight up. And they don't have to be straight. This might not be comfortable for your sacrum. You might have the knees bent as far over in towards you as you want, or the heels in towards your bottom. So just finding a way that your pelvis can balance, a little bit inverted, that's effortless. So if it's really a lot of effort to take your legs up and you haven't just got that kind of gravitational biting point where the thigh bones can just drop in, then find a different angle. And you might be able to wriggle around and find that effortless inversion. You can always take your arms over your head. A little lift to the pelvis. Not worrying about what you look like. changes in the body as you hold. The intention of letting go. Take a few deep breaths. And if your knees aren't bent already, just bending them. And then bringing one foot at a time down to the floor, nice and carefully. Don't want to make any sudden movements after that. And just stretch out the left heel on the floor. And a little bit of an active stretch just before we finish. Pushing the heel forward, pulling the toes back and lowering the heel towards the floor. And if you need a bend in the knee to make yourself feel better, that's fine. You know, a bit of a banana back bend here. But just want you to take your awareness to the left kind of hip bone and lower abdomen area. Take a deep breath in, expand the belly like a balloon. And as you breathe out, try and draw the abdomen down in towards the bolster and back towards the lower back. I'm just applying a little bit of force to the left heel as you pull the belly in. I'm just feeling, getting in touch with the psoas muscle there. And then gently release, bring that left foot onto the floor. Stretch the right leg out. Lower the heel to the floor, pull the toes back, stretch the heel forward. You can always have a bend in that right knee. Arms are over the head, so you're getting a little banana stretch here. And then taking the awareness to that right hip bone and the right lower abdomen. And again, breathing in, expanding that area. And as you breathe out, you're going to push the heel forward and away and pull the abdomen in and back. Just coming in contact with some of those deep abdominal muscles, so as even the diaphragm. And then releasing. Bring the arms down, press down on the feet and just push the bolster down in that little space between the bottom and the heels. And then you can settle your feet down on the floor. The bolster can be under the knees, but it's quite nice sometimes to have it quite far up towards the bottom. And you've got option here to rest like this, or you can take your belt and block, place the block between the thighs. You want to tie your belt so that it's about thigh width apart.
you can use a tie or a dressing gown tie, and you're going to tie the belt around your legs and the block and tighten it up so that you've got this kind of inner thigh contact with the block and the outer thigh halfway up, so it's not kind of digging in, halfway up with the outer thighs. You can have a blanket here if you want. If you want to be super duper relaxed, you could have a blanket under each heel. And lying back, just see if you've got the angle right. Spread the sacrum, so spread out the buttocks, and just feel if you've got this kind of contact in the inner thigh, contact in the outer thigh. Make sure it's not too tight. So mine is really kind of a bit too tight there. I just want to feel that my thighs have got a boundary. I'm not pushing into the boundary, but it's keeping my thigh bones straight so that my heels are more or less straight in front of me. Although the feet might turn out a little bit, they're probably going to stay turned up. And then you can have your arms how you like them. You can have them palms turned up. You could have the elbows out, hands on the belly. And just come to relaxation. And just, again, this is another pose. It's a relaxation, but it's kind of gently encouraging the thigh bones to turn in so they sink down even deeper into the back of the pelvis. Something quite relaxing happens when we can get our thigh bones into the back of the pelvis, and all of those exercises that we've done are all going to facilitate that. There's something deeply relaxing about just having that alignment and having that snug fit. So this is where you could have an eye bag and blankets and some gentle, relaxing music. And I'm going to invite you to stay here for as long as you can. And even as I start to come out of the pose, if you don't have to, then don't. And like with all of the poses, the longer you stay, that's not the case for all of the poses, but for these relaxing poses, if you're supported and comfortable, then the longer that you stay, the more your nervous system can really find its balance. Gently dropping your weight into the earth, the head, shoulder blades, pelvis, feet. Awareness just on the breath coming in and out. The heaviness of the back body. And just noticing the front body, the open sensations that you might encounter in the face, the throat, the chest, the belly, the hips, the thighs, the shins. I'm going to invite you to breathe in, tracing sensations up the back body from the heels all the way through the shins, the backs of the thighs, back of the pelvis, shoulder blades, back of the head. And as you breathe out, tracing sensations of openness and lightness from the crown of the head, the face, the throat, the chest, abdomen, the thighs, the shins, the feet. So breathing in, heaviness from the back of the body, from the heels to the head. Breathing out lightness in the front of the body, from the head to the feet. And continuing on with your relaxation, or coming out very gently. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle the fingers and toes, maybe have a stretch of the legs and the hands and a yawn.
Gently bending the knees. Bring the feet on the floor and then on the bolster, at which point you might be able to release the belt from the block without too much reaching, and then turning onto one side and gently coming up. And I hope that's made your day or your evening really super chilled. I'll see you next time.